Hello, BookTube. Well, it's time for Friday reads. This weekend, like most of the days that will be coming up for the rest of 2017, I am concentrating on not so much. Ordinarily, the Friday reads or any kind of advanced reading that I do on this channel is well ahead of time, but not now. Not towards the end of the year. Towards the end of the year, I concentrate exclusively on cleaning up my reading for that year to get it all done, to get it all done before the year ends. So I'm concentrating on 2017 releases, even though I'm up to my ham hocks in 2018 releases. So I've got 6 books here that I want to show you. 6 books that are the very least of what I will be reading this weekend, and 4 of them are 2018 books. So the first one of those is this big thing. It's by Vanda, Krefft, and it is The Man Who Made the Movies. It's a gigantic new biography of William Fox, who lent his name to a studio, but was ruined by people in the industry who apparently hated him rabidly, and who went on. The most I know about him is that he went on to infamy and jail for trying to bribe a judge. And I don't know much more than that. And I have a feeling that this book wants to be the definitive life of the man, and that's fine by me. I'm very interested in entertainment industry biographies, so I'll be gobbling this up. Another one. There's the other 3 of the 4 of the 4 2017 books that I'm going to be mentioning this time around on this Friday Reads are real books. Only one of them is made up a story. The next was also a big biography. It's Goddess of Anarchy, a big new, apparently sympathetic biography of Lucy Parsons, who was a radical and an anarchist and an editor and a very talented writer, and who I've never read a biography of before. Same thing with William Fox. I've never read a life of this person, so that adds all the interest in the world to it. This is by Jacqueline Jones, who has won the Bancroft Prize, and I'm eager to get to it. It's been the advanced copies of both these things have been sitting on my shelves forever, and 2017 is coming to an end. so we've already passed Thanksgiving. So we're in the downward slalom final stages of this year. And then the last biography is a reread, but I'm rereading it in depth because I'll be reviewing it in December. And we've seen it, I think, on this channel before. It's The Last Man Who Knew Everything. It's a new biography of Enrico Fermi by David Schwartz, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And I'm rereading it now with a fine-tooth comb, sort of pick through it, preparatory to writing it up. And then the last of the 2017 books I want to show you that I'll be reading this weekend is also a tome. It's Tom Clancy, only it's not really Tom Clancy, since Tom Clancy has been in his grave so long now that he is not recognizable. This is by Marc Cameron, who is one of his, I think, 2 estate continuers, literary continuers. His estate really knew what they were doing. They knew that they had a valuable product. This itself is a Jack Ryan novel. There's another strand of Tom Clancy novels, but this is the real thing. This is the character who shot him to fame and fortune, who then became president, who has a son called Jack Ryan, who also gets into hair-raising schemes. And the Clancy estate knew, in a way that not all literary estates do, that they really should vet the people carefully that are going to continue, because the Tom Clancy novels written since he died are considerably better than any Tom Clancy novel written while he was alive. And I was going to say, good for them, but that, now that you think about it, that's not a very high bar to hurdle. Even so, the Clancy estate picked 2 absolute crackerjack thriller writers to do these things. So this one is called Power and Empire, and it'll be, I haven't even glanced at it, but I want to read it, definitely. It starts with a seemingly isolated tragedy. A Chinese oil tanker explodes in the Strait of San Juan de Fuca. As a massive explosion engulfs the CGSL Orion in a burst of white flames, the surviving crew is left at the mercy of a raging storm. The U.S. Coast Guard battles towering seas and gale force winds in a frantic bid to rescue them. In rural Texas, a routine traffic stop quickly escalates into a desperate gunfight. When a stolen thumb drive is recovered from one of the car's occupants, the highway patrol hands it over to the FBI, unaware the drive is the property of Eddie Feng, a journalist with access to China's political elite, and the very man Jack Ryan Jr. and John Clark are tracking. Then Feng's drive reveals that a payment was made the same day of the Orion attack, proving there's something much more sinister at play than mere coincidence. As mounting tensions between China and Japan, or China and the United States, push the world's two great superpowers to the brink of war, it falls to President Jack Ryan to identify the lethal chess master behind these moves, even if it means making himself a target. The President Jack Ryan books are a hoot. They are, of course, one of the most mocked and funniest Tom Clancy moments from the big screen is Harrison Ford saying without a single bit of humor, "Get off my plane." It's kind of ridiculous when you think about what golf playing narcissistic pudgeballs most American presidents have been. But the Tom Clancy, the continuation Tom Clancy novels in which we deal with the adventures of President Jack Ryan actually make an action hero out of the United States president, and they're wonderful. And then the last two books I want to show you for this Friday reads are rereads. But I haven't read either one of them since they first came out, so it's a long time. They feel like fresh ground, and they're both of interest to me. The first one is Marc of the Grizzly. And this is, I've noticed it's a very changing light here. I'll move the camera for my next video. But this is just a collection of tales of grizzly bear attacks. And I remember reading it when it first came out. That noise you hear is, of course, the background noise of these videos now is Frida furiously destroying something. This came out in 1998, and that's when I last read it. And I was much fresher then to my own memories of encountering grizzlies in the wild. And I remember two things from these stories, two common strands that ran throughout them. First one being that almost every person who's interviewed about their own bear attack remembers that when they first saw a bear in the near middle distance, they prayed to God that it was a black bear and not a grizzly. They then had the horrible moment where the bear stops and they get a clear look at it. You see the pig snout, you see the hump on the back, you see the size, which no black bear could possibly do, and that's when you realize all the people in these stories all have the same realization, which is, oh my God, I'm encountering a bear that is not going to run away. In fact, it's very likely that it's going to do the opposite of running away, that it's going to attack me. That's strand number one that I remember, and I have had that moment many times in the wild where you see something moving and you pray to God that it's a small black bear, that it's a deer, something. And then the closer you get, the clearer you're able to see, the more you become aware that it is the worst possible thing it could be. Not a cougar, not a moose, that it's the worst possible thing it could be. A thing of unbelievable size, malignance, malice, and sheer strength. I have been charged by grizzlies in the wild, and nothing prepares you for it. The ground actually shakes, and the speed. Gods, you just wouldn't believe it. You simply wouldn't believe how little time an adult angry grizzly bear needs to get to you from way, way over there. You just don't believe it until you see it. Especially since they look, fat and slow. And on the left on their own, they prefer to move slow. But nothing prepares you for the speed of these things. So this is going to raise all sorts of hackles, and that's good. That's what I'll reread it for. The other reread is huge. It's the biggest, I think, book of them all here. And I haven't read it since it came out decades and decades ago. It's by Charlton Ogburn, and it's The Mysterious William Shakespeare. Look at the size of that thing. I found it at the Brattle, and I had to revamp it completely. The dust jacket was just falling apart. In fact, it was in pieces. Because this was, even when it came out, this was an extra-sized book. I don't know if I can show you. See, it's an extra-sized book. And it's huge. It's like 900 pages long. So even when it came out, it was, the dust jacket was notoriously flimsy. And this was, it hasn't been reissued and it's never going to be. So, but this is Ogburn was a really talented writer. He was a really talented novelist. He's a completely forgotten novelist now. His novels will never come back into print, and that's a shame, because he wrote some really good ones, especially novels reflecting his experiences at war. His novel, The Marauders, is memorably good. It's a shame that it will never reappear. And he also wrote a really good work of the kind of blend of natural history and personal observation that I love, called The Winter Beach. All about that subject, about a subject I know very well, beaches in winter, when no one's around, and when they really seem like some of the most inhospitable places in the world. And it pulls enormous amounts of poetry out of that landscape. But at the end of his writing career, this subject consumed him. As you all know, I have a sweet tooth for conspiracy theories, and when it comes to the bookish world, no conspiracy theory holds a candle to the question of whether or not the man who was christened William Shakespeare in Stratford-on-Avon actually wrote the plays that we read under his name. It's a subject that I've been trying hard not to bring up on ShakeTube 2017, because it's a digression, I realize, but oh, I love it. I love it so. And this, I remember being extraordinarily eloquent. He, of course, Ogburn, of course, doesn't believe that the Stratford man wrote the plays. And he sifts through the evidence with a fine-tooth comb. It's amazing. If I remember correctly, it's an amazing performance. And part of the joy of rereading it will be that I, of course, have kept reading on the subject. So I'll know more about the controversy than I did when I read this book. So I can't wait to get to it. In fact, The Mysterious William Shakespeare might be the first thing I read this weekend, which is really inexcusable considering how much of 2017 books I still have to read. There shouldn't actually be any guilty pleasure rereads on here, but instead I've got two, and then we've got Tom Clancy, then Enrico Fermi, then Lucy Parsons, and William Fox, the namesake of what became 20th Century Fox. So that's it. That's my Friday reads. Of course, I'll be watching all of your videos, and I have more videos to make. But in the meantime, I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.